All right, Scavengers, welcome to episode 45 of the Six Scale Scavengers podcast. I'm your host, Bryan Fontaine, joined as always with my good friends, TC and Chris Letty. Really great show. I'm actually exceptionally excited about this one, not only because we have a ton of news to cover. We're talking about the Snow Trooper. We have a special guest on with us. We have Lotus Stark. To me, one of the OG hot toy collectors out there. Even though Lotus, you don't collect hot toys any longer, I still love talking, collecting with you. A co-host of Open Your Toys. You got your own YouTube channel. You sporadically put some stuff out. So Lotus, I know you've been on the Assemble before, but this is your first time on the podcast with us. So we're looking forward to a really good chat tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you guys allowing me to come on here and share some history of some stuff that possibly was forgotten.
That is the topic that we will be talking about, and everybody can see it on the scroll right now. You can see it in the episode title if you're downloading this afterwards. But Lotus, you reached out to me because you're in our collecting group, and you've always got a lot of wisdom, and you're always more than willing to share your experience. And to me, you might not think you're an expert, but you lend your expertise, especially to a lot of our newer collectors and stuff, which is great to just have that real welcoming environment that we have. But you reached out to me and said, "Hey, Bryan, I've got a couple figures from my hot toy collecting days. If a lot of people don't know, you're into a lot of the podcast. You're a co-host of Open Your Toys. You do a lot of the retro, the four big franchises from the 80s that a lot of us that grew up in the 80s know and love. But you reached out and said, "Hey, I've got some figures that I had from my hot toy collecting days because you're into the high-end statues now." And I took a look at it, and then you had this whole write-up on the background of them, and I had never heard of Play Imaginative before, and
Yep.
the fact that they went to the extent of, I don't want to get into the story yet because we will be talking about it later, but got the Iron Man 3 license and said, "Hey, let's make almost full diecast quarter scale figures."
Yeah. It's
nuts.
crazy. It's a crazy story, and definitely would like to get into it.
It'd be interesting to hear that little part of collecting history.
Yeah, because hot toys, they were not always the powerhouse that they are today. And I think there was a time where a company like Play Imaginative could have broken in if they had done things a little bit better. But we'll defer to Lotus. Looking forward to it myself.
Yeah, so a lot of news to cover. We're going to be, like I said, we're going to be reviewing the Snow Trooper. There's a couple different versions out there. They're kind of essentially the same figure. Looking forward to that. News just oozed out. We were going to have a lot to talk about before even today happened with even more stuff. And really looking forward to getting to that. So before we dive into our first segment here with the Spark and seeing what's piquing our curiosity and fandom, just wanted, Chris, give a shout out to Alan Voivod, Star Wars 7x7. You and I last evening did a recording with him on his podcast. He calls it his Star Wars pop series of podcasters on podcasting. And although we exclusively essentially cover collecting here, that was great to chat Star Wars with him. And it's great because he's also a fellow New Hampshire resident. There's so few of us, it seems, that actually are out in the podcasting space. So I think it was a really good conversation, Chris. I think he said that episode will be airing in about 2 weeks' time. So as soon as that drops, we'll definitely share it out on our Facebook and social media and in our group and stuff.
Oh yeah, it was a good time talking with Alan. For anybody that doesn't know, Star Wars 7x7, he puts out an episode every single day, at least 7 minutes. And for anybody that looks for that quick hit of Star Wars news and content, definitely check out his podcast.
All right, guys, let's get into the Spark because we have so much to cover. I just kind of want to almost rattle through this because there's so much goodness to talk about tonight. So, TC, we'll start with you first. What has piqued your curiosity lately?
All right, I'll make it real quick. I watched the first Avenger. Again, I don't know if I'm doing a complete rewatch of the MCU, but one of our fellow co-hosts, Roy, he was doing an MCU rewatch with his girlfriend, and kind of got me interested again. Kind of get out of that hibernation of the MCU, and I started the first Avenger and finished it. Great movie. I like it.
Yeah, I think we're all, just trying to mix things up. And for me, I'm right there with you with the MCU. We had a couple days that we watched Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 with my oldest daughter, and she absolutely loved those movies. And it was the first time for her seeing it. She knew all the characters. We got books and all that stuff. So, and for me, those those are some of my top favorite MCU movies and movies of all time. And then my wife and I, she had never seen Infinity War and Endgame, so we did back-to-back nights watching those, and it was a really cool transition going from the two Guardians movies right into Infinity War and Endgame. I love that four, that grouping of four movies, and so it kind of got those MCU juices flowing. And I got the Shield hat on, the Marvel representing too, and so I'm feeling the MCU stuff right now too.
Bryan?
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, so for me, I've been trying to catch up on comic books lately. Marvel, given my Marvel Unlimited subscription a good run. Finally, the new X-Men series that dropped, the House of X and Powers of X. I hadn't read any of them. I hadn't picked any of them up. So I think all 6 of each are available now, and read through those. And while I've been waiting for those to drop, I've actually been going back to read some. Wolverine used to be my main X-Men Marvel character back when I was growing up. So rereading his series from 1988 that really stretched for a good chunk of the 90s, and really loving that Madripoor patch arc that started that off. And it's just been some good Marvel comic goodness there. So Lotus, I know, not to put you on the spot, but anything that's really kind of piqued your curiosity lately?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I haven't really been following a whole lot, to be honest with you.
Fair enough. All right, guys, let's shift, because we got to talk some news here. I'm actually trying to do better about keeping up the ticker on the bottom here than I have been. So we're going to get right into news here, and we're going to talk. So TCU pointed this out, and while I was fighting with YouTube last time out, trying to get our episode onto the podcast format, I saw that Captain Marvel Endgame dropped. We didn't expect this one whatsoever, and so we haven't really had a time to look at it. So we've got our website up here. I just want to kind of rattle off a couple of quick stats here. So from Avengers Endgame, and Avengers Endgame's quickly turning into one of the larger lines that they have for Hot Toys now at this point. MMS $575, the sideshow price right now $260, announced on April 16th, 2020, and we're looking at a April to June release next year.
Yeah, it's a good looking figure. I think they nailed the likeness to Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, and I like the look of the suit. It's a nice, it's got elements of the first one, but it's different enough that I can see people having both versions, and it comes with the gauntlet, and I don't know. It looks like a good figure to me. Not one I'll probably order for a while, but I'd like to have this one in my collection someday.
Yeah, this is pretty darn good. That head sculpt's really, really nice. I think it's better than the first head sculpt. I think most people agree with that. Hot Toys, every time they get multiple shots at something, they always improve on something. But the colors pop, and like you said, Chris, that gauntlet is a really nice accessory. And they kind of get you if people are on the fence with the first one, if they already got the first one, they stick the gauntlet in there, kind of get you over the edge. Classic Hot Toys move. But it's a great figure, and it's important for that line. Captain
Absolutely.
Marvel, she was a big piece of the end of the movie, really overall. So it's good to have her in that lineup.
Yeah, Bryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And like a lot of collectors wanted this one to come. And it's funny that I heard it a lot. You don't notice it because on screen, I mean, she doesn't get a ton of airtime, not airtime, but screen time, I should say. And you don't even really realize it until you actually look at a lot of the promo images, because they used her movie suit for a lot of the endgame promotional materials and stuff. And the suit is almost inverse of her one from her other one. So this is predominantly red, has the sash where her first one doesn't. So there's enough here that I personally like Captain Marvel as a character, but I'm trying to limit Marvel purchases going forward. And for me, the one thing that would, although I love the character, I love the portrayal. A lot of people think that, she's not that, just is the wrong actress for the role. If you read the comics, I mean, it's Carol Danvers to a T. So, I think she did really well. I thought they casted it well. It's just, I worry about the suit material holding up over time. Same concern I have about the first release. It's so similar to Iron Spider. You can see at the seams that it could just, start, busting at the seams. You can't really leave it dynamically posed, even though the arms do appear that they have like a shoulder gusset. So you can have the arms kind of maybe potentially at a T, like where she's in a flying pose. But to me, it's one of those, like, you have it on the shelf to pop and have that display, just like her first release. But you really can't do too much with it posing wise.
No, you can't. But I don't know. It's tough. It's tough because if you're doing an endgame line, not just the importance of that character, I feel is high. And I really wish Captain Marvel was introduced earlier in the MCU rather than at the very end. I feel her part, a lot more people would be receptive of her part, because it feels like it was almost shoehorned in at the very end of the entire saga. But, can't change
we'll see
that.
going forward. How the character interacts with the different, the other movie franchises. If she makes appearances, if she's just going to be in her own movies, definitely. I'm definitely interested to see where that character goes.
I mean, I know she's a strong character, but you don't think the face is a little too harsh? I mean, I know she's supposed to be, strong, and I don't know. You don't think the face is just the expression is just a little too harsh? Like, it shouldn't be a little softer, or like just the eyebrow, the expression.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if there's any adjustments from the prototype to the final release. We'll talk about figure coming up that there was, an adjustment from the initial prototype promo pics to the final release. And it's not unprecedented for Hot Toys to do something like that. So it's very possible, they might, have a little bit more of a smirk or something like that. Yeah. On her face.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's a good point, Lotus. Not to go back and check that, but like Chris said, we'll talk about it. Han from the Solo, sometimes they make changes from prototype to production, so time will tell.
All right, so for the Mandalorian fans, man, this was a welcome surprise. We haven't had an opportunity to talk about this yet, so just quickly. We've got the Scout Trooper, and it's funny because, like, the Mandalorian figure, Scout Trooper and Speeder Bike came out before the Return of the Jedi one, and now the speculation in the community is, could they repurpose this for Return of the Jedi? And I think there's got to be like an 80% likelihood that that's going to happen. They like to reuse, if they're going to go through the manufacturing and production and engineering of it, they're going to try to get a lot of use out of it. And as a company, I can't really blame them all that much. So up first, we had TMS 16 for the Scout Trooper. Retail price going to be $220, announced on April 23rd, and it looks like April to June next year. And then the one that everyone's most excited about is getting a vehicle in the Hot Toys line, and obviously Speeder Bike. So this one is TMS 17, retail price of $455, which seems like a lot, but if you look at Sideshow, was charging almost $330, $340 for their just the speeder bike, I mean, to me, this seems priced well, and it looks like it's going to be more well engineered. Also released on April 23rd. It's crazy. I'm going to call up the photos here in a second, but man, I am just over the moon excited about. I'm like all in on the Mandalorian line, anyways, and now to get this, I think for me, I can't remember, Chris. I don't remember who we're talking to. I think we were talking to Sean recently, and just I think the fact that the Mandalorian it's right after Return of the Jedi, which is one of my favorite Star Wars films. It has a heavy influence from Rogue One with a lot of the trooper designs. And the story is just great. The people making it are great. That's another reason. And I mean, Hot Toys is just killing it with this line so far. It's shaping up really well.
Dude, you are going into this line full throttle. You're counting Beskar Mando Deluxe as a separate release than the standard version. And you're like, I'm getting both.
I'm also, spoiler alert, counting the Scout Trooper and Speeder Bike and the Scout Trooper as separate releases too.
Dang. You've got that throttle on the speeder bike just cranked.
I'm Baby Yoda right now on the speeder with IG-11.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man, go ahead, Chris.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's everybody was expecting this figure, but then the talk about, will they actually do a bike? A speeder bike. They have to do a speeder bike, and they did a speeder bike, and it's got that, it's painted white, so it differentiates it from the bikes on Endor and stuff. And I love I know it's a prototype, but I love the weathered look on the bike, and these guys, they're just missing those cans left and right, and I just can't wait to get this in hand next year and mess around with it. But I think it's a solid release. I mean, the Scout Trooper is always ranked highly as far as the aesthetic of the troopers, the various troopers out there, and I gotta have it.
Yeah, and in the price, I believe is it $455?
$455, yeah.
$455. It's not, look, obviously it's a lot of money, but it's not bad considering what you're getting. Standard figure, you can't get one for under $200. I mean, $220 really. And then you're looking at another $230 for the actual bike. It's a pretty good package, and you get Baby Yoda. And he's smiling on the screen right now.
Oh,
it's and then the satchel. So you get a lot of stuff with this. Hot Toys has been really smart in what they include in all these releases to kind of get you to go to that next figure.
Yeah, staggering it. That's
the satchel only included with this one. Then the different Baby Yodas in the Beskar version, and probably more in the future with different features. So this is quite the line. This is rivaling some of the best.
Yeah, and Bill Dorklairs, and they're saying too that it pays a lot of tribute to toys and collecting yellowed stormtroopers. To the, we actually did see the troop transport for, it's just pretty cool. Lotus, I know that you're obviously not still collecting Hot Toys, but just based on your history and stuff with some of the vehicles and stuff, are you surprised that they've made this?
Well, I'm not huge into Star Wars, but the speeder bike from Sideshow, what was that all about? Because everyone bought that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so what's I understand, Hot Toys, obviously the quality. I heard you guys were saying that the quality wasn't, the feel of that Sideshow piece was really not good feeling wise. But what would be the difference? I mean, just the bike itself between the two. It's
essentially, it's got almost the same style to it. The Sideshow one is brown, and it's from Return of the Jedi on when they're on Endor, and these guys are flying through the forest and everything with them.
Gotcha.
So it's clean. It's like a new look because it's active Imperials. So Sideshow, whether or not Hot Toys help them develop that or not, from what everybody's saying, there's definitely more fine detail in like the knobs and some of the, just the mechanics about it look more fine tuned on the Hot Toys one. But yeah,
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I was just thinking, like, obviously they did a huge sale of those speeder bikes, and I was just wondering if, they obviously have they have a relationship with Hot Toys, so they must know a lot of stuff on the back end. And it was just weird that they were just putting those on sale, and now, obviously this is a different colorway and a different design, different look of the the vehicle itself, but they obviously did something there to create a whole bunch of, well, I think it was our group that actually made all of the hurrah stuff to sell a lot of those. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Chris,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Do you have that you have that speeder, right?
I do. I just cracked the box open and kind of inspected it and stuff like that, but it won't go together until I, setting things up. I don't want to have to try to mess around with it. And so
those things have been on sale forever. Are they still on sale?
Or do
they sell out?
I thought they were sold out for a little bit and then they came back. I don't know. I haven't checked on it in a while.
I mean, to answer your question, Brian, though, I mean, honestly, I'm surprised Hot Toys is continuing making any type of vehicles. Vehicles are they're fragile, so there can be a lot of returns, a lot of complaints about pieces popping off, and so it's just interesting that they're still doing vehicles here and there.
Yeah, I know you and I talked a while ago about, I ended up picking up the DeLorean, and you had found some, aftermarket stuff that you can kind of make a Back to the Future 2 conversion. And, I know like the Batman line, they did like the Bat Pod, and they've done the Tumbler and the Batmobile and stuff. And they look great, but they're just huge. And I know there's a market for that. But then, like, to your point, to me, there could be QC issues, even if they have really good quality, just because people they might break in transport. It's funny because I thought like the DeLorean, I bought it and it went across the country, and I was surprised that even in the original packaging, it was pretty well secured. So, I think they do that well. I don't think it's like to XM Studios quality of packing things to send it, but I think still, I guess I'm just excited that we have it, and it's not a super big thing. It's still, I'm seeing some people in the chat right now saying that they'd even have a little trouble, displaying even the speeder bike. And I think I'm going to find a way. This is the way. I'll find a way to do it. So before we jump over and talk about Spider-Gwen, which is a heck of a surprise, we just had about 42 people joining in live. A lot of the regulars. I see Danny, Mario, Juggernaut, Toymatic, haven't seen him in a while. Elvis is in the house. Tank, Mark Pearson, my brother in the Force. I see Jeff out there, Dorklair,
Justin,
Albert.
Nice.
Yep. So I'm sure I'm going to miss a heck of a lot of it. Nick out there. We appreciate everybody tuning in live. This is a fun conversation. I love talking with Chris and TC we talk daily, but every 2 weeks in this format, and then getting guests like Lotus to come on and join us. It just makes it even more enjoyable. And so thank you to everybody tuning in live, and for everybody listening on the audio afterwards. You're more than happy to join us, but then also we try to do our best to have it in both formats here.
Well, that we do.
All right, Spider-Gwen.
Oh,
this dropped like late last night. I was just about ready to go to bed, I think, and it's funny because Hot Toys, they took a little grief because at San Diego Comic-Con last year they had a display space set up where they had little pieces of paper saying that Into the Spider-Verse figures were coming, and they didn't have anything there. And with their track record of doing things either at San Diego Comic-Con or saying that they're going to do like Shazam or Cyborg or any of those other figures that they've said they're going to do and never do, they're definitely following through on this. And I mean, Into the Spider-Verse is just a phenomenal Spider-Man movie. It's not obviously tied to the MCU in any way, but it doesn't matter. I mean, there's such crossover appeal with that. And definitely one of the standouts of that movie was Spider-Gwen. Gwen Stacy. So quick stats on it before I start showing the photos here, guys. MMS 576. The retail price on this is going to be $255. Obviously released today, April 29th. And the Sideshow estimate of this one right now is looking July to September next year.
Lead it off, Chris.
No, I was just I woke up this morning and I saw the chat, I saw the group, and I'm just like, what the heck did I just wake up to? All these, figure releases and this one. I mean, she was one of my top figures that I wish that Hot Toys would make. A couple third-party companies had taken a stab at them, but this one knocks it out of the park for me. The animated head sculpt, I mean, I can't see any issues with it whatsoever. It's got so much, that detail that you look for in this style figure, and I just think they've gone with a whole new body type. The suit looks awesome. I just I love this movie, and my kids love this movie. I don't know how many times I've listened to the soundtrack over and over and over again, and I mean, and then the fact that we get Spider-Ham with it. Come on, Hot Toys. Like they know how to get you. Not only is it a great figure, but they give you this great accessory to put with her and Miles, and then just begs the question, who's coming next? How far are they going to go into this line? Because Sony right now I'm pretty sure they're in the middle of production for the second one. And I think it's going to be perfect timing to have these figures out there. Yeah. What do you guys think?
I just say it's pretty cool. I mean, I know people gave Hot Toys a lot of crap for not releasing figures when they think that they should be released. But in times like this, in instances like this, all of a sudden they just drop something. And it's just a huge shock. I know people say, well, they missed the boat, and maybe they did. But like you said, Chris, there's another movie coming. So the hype for the second movie is gonna grow, and these figures are going to be released probably around then. So it's, I actually, I guess take my, not MCU card, but my Marvel card. I haven't actually seen this movie.
Get out.
I know. I know. I do want to watch it. But look, these look amazing. That Spider-Ham edition is it's a sweet addition.
Yeah, I would put that. I would recommend putting that high on your list of movies to watch. The animation style is so unlike anything else that they put out there. The music, everything. It's just a really great movie. And even if you don't know much about Miles Morales as Spider-Man, it gives you a great backstory. And there's so many different characters in there that you are familiar with, but very different takes on them. And it'll be great to see, where that movie goes with the sequel.
Yeah, I know Jesse in our group had photos at Secret Base, and I forgot to grab them to show or even ask permission if he'd let me do that. But the in-person photos even look even better. So this is probably not one that I would get, but I certainly like, just like you mentioned, Chris, this is, I think it's a fantastic movie, and great to see that Marvel collectors are getting some love. So Lotus, question for you is, based on your collecting background, did you ever think that Hot Toys would get into the non-movie realistic sculpts?
Never.
Anime? No. And like the Miles Morales one just blew my mind. And then the fact that this, I know there's a couple of people in the chat that just mentioned it, and it may be easier for them to do it, but it still blows my mind that they would make that jump.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously, they're going where the money is. They're looking around, they're looking at all these different venues and saying, okay, well, let's get some younger people into collecting, and they know that. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I stayed away from this movie for a while when it came on Netflix, I did watch it, and I loved it. I thought it was a great movie. I knew nothing about Miles Morales, nothing, and I thought it was good. And the reason why I stayed away from it was I didn't really want to watch a cartoon as a movie. But Chris, you're right. Your mind forgets about that animation style, and then you just feel like you're watching a movie. And yeah, it's really great. But yeah, I'm really, I don't know if I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. You know what? Hot Toys is a business. They're looking for other areas to gain additional revenue. So good on them.
Yeah, great stuff. So we'll see. That's already up for pre-order now at this point, and you've got a little bit of time to think about it. But I think one thing that I think Hot Toy collectors are really going to see, Chris, like you mentioned, is how far are they going to go here. So Chris, I'll put you on the spot. I have my guess, and I'll share it after yours. But what other ones do you think we could see?
I think the safest bet for the next release is Peter B. Parker.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely one. Other members, Jason was saying he'd love to see a Spider-Man Noir.
That's the other one, yeah.
But or Doc Ock. I don't think we'll get a villain, but man, could you imagine a Kingpin in Hot Toys, like the size of that figure or something? I think that would be insane if they did that.
I take a Hot Toys from the Daredevil series.
Yeah, I know, right? Or like a Prowler. I think, again, I guess Hot Toys is going to see how successful it is. Maybe they'll just do the main 3 characters and go from there. But yeah, I just love the movie so much that I would love to see a whole lineup.
Kingpin, Justin saying Kingpin would weigh 60 pounds, and he's not wrong.
And I'd buy it. So.
Yeah, and Sean's out in the chat too, saying I think they do Peter B. Parker, and I think that would be it's just kind of hilarious that how he does appear in the movie there. So TC, homework assignment for you, my friend. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. It really is.
I'm gonna make a request as the host here, and I'm hoping for the next episode, TC, that your spark is
Clone Wars.
Yeah,
we're peer pushing you into all these TV shows and stuff that need to be watched. So, all right, and I feel like it's like not last but not least, I would have loved that. I'm so glad that we got the Solo figures finally, but on the other hand, I kind of wish that we got them on like the next episode so we could space this out a little bit. But man, that was a surprise too, and it was funny because I was speculating in our collector group recently, saying that poor Gamora. Why is Gamora? She's definitely coming up on the 2-year delay. She currently holds the title for the longest delayed figure, and the ones that were right after it were the Solo ones. So the standard Solo figure, I think, was May 24th or 25th, 2018. So they just squeaked in at about the 1 year, 11-month mark. The Mudtrooper one that we have up here on the screen, I think, was released for pre-order June 1st, 2018. So definitely got that out. These got released today in Hong Kong. And I've got the Mudtrooper. Let's talk about the Mudtrooper first, because I think this is the one that most collectors, Star Wars collectors, are the most amped about. And most people I talk to, Chris, don't even intend to display this with the Solo head sculpt. They just want it as the Mudtrooper. And it's funny because it has some of like this like Fallout vibes with a helmet, and it's just, this looks so good.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I don't blame them, because everybody, a lot of people, Star Wars fans, love the troopers, and this gives you another look to put in there.
Multimedia look with the different textures and stuff.
He's got they look like canvas pants or I don't know,
trooper boots and or shin guards, I should say.
And it's very it kind of gives you, from Empire Strikes Back, General Veers, his suit in when he's commanding the AT-AT. It's got very similar look to that. So I just, again, another figure that I really like the look of it. as the Mud Trooper, and even with Han peeking out there, I think another solid release by Hot Toys.
Yeah, and TC, before I kick it over to you too, and Chris, not that I'm an expert on like the different Imperial blasters and stuff, but this definitely looks like a modified like E11. I don't know that I didn't see the official name on it at all, but it definitely looks like it's a blaster rifle that we haven't even seen before. I know Justin's out there right now. I'm sure he can correct us pretty quickly. But
Totally. Or our Galactic Arms dealer, he might know too, Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah, TC, how are you feeling with this one?
I like this figure. I'm not a fan of Han helmeted, and I would never display it like that. I would definitely display it with the full-on helmet. But the extra sculpt's just added bonus. And maybe you can do it as like a kit bash if you don't want to buy the other one. But yeah, I mean, what? I don't really know how you can say bad things about this release. The mixed media, the wartime look. It's a really cool figure. It's probably my favorite of the entire line. I think Maul might compete with that, but of the four, I think there's 4 figures that they're going to release from the film. This is probably right at the top. It would be, if I had to get one from the line, which I don't know if I'm going to, but I'll get this one and then Darth Maul. It's great. And I like the new sculpt. I know we'll talk about it probably on the other release, but that head sculpt from production that's not the same that they put out for the prototype, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but it looks fuller in the face. It doesn't look as lean. Looks like you put on a little weight.
Yeah.
Justin with a say the E22 blaster rifle.
E22
coming through in the clutch.
Yeah, but it's an above average Hot Toy sculpt. So that's an added bonus for this figure.
Oh yeah. Let's get some in-hand pictures of that. See some reviews. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, did you guys see any review? I didn't go looking for any today, but
I didn't have time. No,
too early, I think.
Yeah, and I think too, as somebody said in the chat too, like the Hong Kong prices on a lot of the solo figures seemed like they were a little bit less. Like as what happened with the Patrol Trooper, I think that the pre-orders for this one may have been a little suppressed, and especially now that it's going to be almost 2 years next month from the movie being released. And I know that in our collector group, there's still a strong affinity for Solo. I know I went through a Solo kick myself a couple months back on some prior episodes, and still really, really enjoy this movie. And looking at the standard and the deluxe of the regular Solo figure. So Chris, you mentioned it with that sculpt, and obviously this changed. I mean, Hot Toys, it's hard for them to do bad work, in my opinion. I mean, to me, this still looks pretty darn good.
It does to me too. I gotta say though, some of the lighting in some of these pictures is not really the best. But it's Alden Ehrenreich. Is that his name?
Yeah,
yeah.
How to pronounce his last name? But
I know. I'm like, wait a second. Did I just pronounce it wrong? I mean, I can tell who it is. Definitely. And he does have that just little bit of smirk. Not, I forget if the other one had just a little bit more. But yeah, this picture, unfortunately, he's got that Chewie next to him, which is really taking away from.
That ain't Chewie.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that thing is. Cookie Monster.
Okay. So
I had to call this out. I just wanted to stop on this photo because it's funny because they used the TFA Chewie here. And obviously we know that it's not good. I had this figure in hand. It doesn't even look like they'd attempted to comb out his, upper lip area at all. And I think the funny thing too is and I don't have the Phasma figure myself, but I think that's Phasma's first order rifle that it's gold. So it's funny that that's how they were going to accomplish this, but we never did get this Chewie, and I don't think we are going to. So if you want a Chewie, don't wait for the Solo one. Go back and get the A New Hope. But this is just a solid release. Yeah. I mean, we showed
tailoring is sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, the jacket is phenomenal. I think I think the tailoring on the suit. I didn't get the deluxe myself. The fur coat and stuff does look good. I think the utility belt is well. I mean, I unfortunately I think we're going to have slept on this figure at all, and I don't think that this is going to be one that. I mean, you're probably if you want it and you didn't pre-order it, I don't wait, because these are the figures that if they didn't make a lot of them, you could see go up in price. And I think just in general, fandom didn't get completely behind this film, and I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think this Solo line in general is going to be. It's going to be underrated, and not that it'll eventually turn into anything like we'd get for like what the Rogue One line is today. Mm-hmm. But I think it's going to be one that if you want it, I wouldn't wait.
Yeah, I'm right there with you too. I want to bring Lotus back in. I know his Star Wars exposure is limited, but I do remember hearing him talk about watching this movie and maybe not being too crazy about it. What?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was a heist style movie.
Yeah.
I guess, it was okay. Like I said, I'm warming up to all the movies, and but this, you guys don't think that this looks like Leo DiCaprio had a son?
Well, it's a little bit, but I mean,
the actor kind of looks like that,
right?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Is it his son? I mean,
oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it could be.
That's pretty funny.
We got another photo here with the TFA Chewie in the cockpit. So
I know on Collecting Weekly there was a thread on one of the posts for the figure, and they were just throwing tons of shade at Chewie, and I'm like, I was just messing around, but it's like it's as expected with that figure.
It's so weird. Like I feel in some of the promo shots they actually did put the prototype Chewie in those shots, and then other ones they put in the TFA Chewie, both equally bad, in my opinion. But
yeah.
But Han's a good figure.
Yep. Yeah, it's nice. It'll be a nice little subsection of Star Wars collectors display.
Good stuff. A lot of news. So final thing we'll mention, there's a couple figures that Sideshow has they're trying to give away. I think like the Dusty Deadpool right now, they're trying to get free shipping and like $35 off. The Luke Skywalker Deluxe from The Last Jedi, I think they have free shipping and like $25 off. So, there's, if you're itching to spend some money at Sideshow right now, they're trying to help you out and do that. But for the most part, there hasn't really been too much other activity there. So speaking of Sideshow, I got an email last night as one of the first people to pre-order their child statue from The Mandalorian. And surprise, surprise, a lot of when we talked about when that first was released, that we felt like it, for what you were getting, the fact that it was based off one of the actual movie props, that it was a little underpriced. Well, surprise, surprise, Sideshow released an email saying, hey, if you pre-ordered it, we're going to give you the original price of $350, but we're going to be raising the price for anybody else that gets in after this. And I had to look it up. They are raising it $25 to $375, which the funny thing is, guys, I still think that's probably under what they should probably be charging for that, for what you're getting. But I know a lot of people had some concerns about that, with just some of the concerns that people have with Sideshow with some of their quality, their products, mostly just their 6-scale figures. A lot of their premium format statues are still really good, but Chris, go ahead.
No, it just stinks, especially for people that have to pay sales tax. That just bumps up the percentage even more on top of it than the shipping. So I mean, you're talking over 400 easily now, and I don't know. I think some people were talking about like they needed to bump up the price because of production costs potentially, being more than they expected. I mean, who knows? But it's Sideshow's right to do that, but it's kind of it stinks for those that were still holding out for it. But I think, like you said, end of the day, if that thing comes out and it's just like, spot on, movie accurate, everything, like the quality and everything is top notch, then yeah, I mean, the price might look like a bargain. So, but time will tell in that situation.
All right, for sure. All right, let's keep things moving. Lots of news to talk about. Let's talk about what a lot of our listeners think is their favorite segment. Usually it's how much of an idiot can Bryan appear to be, or how many different things did I get? So I won't disappoint people this week again. I swear, guys, I swear I've been saying this for like 2 months straight here. This is the last big one, but it is what it is. So, Chris, let's start with you first.
All right. So, kind of went all out with the pre-orders, was holding out on a few figures and decided to lock in a few pre-orders at undergroundfigures.net, Ray over there. It's got some great prices and he's only a couple states away, so the shipping isn't too bad. But pre-ordered the Scout Trooper speeder bike set, Remnant Trooper, Heavy Mando, Han Mudtrooper, and DX18 Maul. And like, I didn't expect the Mudtrooper Han, this to happen. I did this a few days ago and I'm like, I'm just going to lock it in. And yeah, we'll see how long it takes for him to get stock, but at least I've got that set up. And then if you're watching, you can see that there's a couple figures behind me that might be new, and our good buddy Raul, who lives in New Hampshire, we came to an agreement on a partial trade. I've got a plethora of comic books and stuff that he was interested in. So I got a stack together and I drove down. It was really nice to see a fellow collector in person and actually talk and just catch up on things. But I did get the Rogue One Vader, and then I got the Rogue One Death Trooper, and I got the Death Trooper Specialist Deluxe. So very happy to add those to the collection. I'll echo Bryan's statement of like, I really should be done going backwards because it's not good for the bank account. But I'm
Of course it is. What are you talking about?
But anyway, so I should really get to selling some things. And then, not that anybody cares, honestly, about this, but the Harley Quinn kit bash that I'm putting together basically completed that with a head sculpt. And I decided to get an art box. There was one on eBay, decent price, just to, make it a little bit more official instead of having it. Mark, I know, it's so funny. Only because Bryan's always trying to get his figures back from you. That's why you're sweating so much.
CNC Music Factory. Shout out.
Right. Gonna make me sweat. Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, so I mean, nothing too crazy. I did buy a baby on eBay.
That's kind of illegal in some states.
I know. I'm surprised no red flags. A baby Luke Skywalker Hot Toys accessory from Obi-Wan Kenobi Deluxe, which I reluctantly sold when I was following in my co-host's footsteps of parting things out. Took me 6 months to find one. I'm like, what the heck, for a decent price. And so thankfully I can now make that figure complete again. But yeah, that's my list. Who's up? Who's on deck?
I'll change things up. I'll go next. I usually go last. Yeah. Executive decision in the host chair. Just because Mark was just saying that, I want to make sure if he's going to sweat, he gets that out of the way now. So, so like Chris, I did reach out to Ray from Underground Figures as well. Really super nice guy. Glad to give a local retailer some business as well. So I pre-ordered, as I mentioned at the news, when the Scout Trooper and Scout Trooper with speeder bike from Mandalorian were made available. I reached out to him earlier in that day, and he didn't even have it up on his site yet. But one of the things that if you don't want to pay up front, which probably a lot of collectors don't want to do, I just shot him an email, and he added those to the laundry list of other things that I have on pre-order with him already. And I think between him and Steven's Collectibles, I've got most of my pre-orders not at Sideshow or Big Bad Toy Store, which is really good because it's going to save some money. And I'd rather help out a little guy than the big box collector stores as well. So went ahead and did that. Like you, Chris, I met up with Raul on Saturday. I think you met up with him on Sunday, and it was great to socially distance and talk to a local collector. So I did end up getting, I think I'd made a trade with him a while ago. I actually got my Rey Jedi training back from him. I think I traded him that for Palpatine. I still do have Palpatine though, so I'm not in the habit of getting rid of stuff now. So it's glad to have that back in my collection. And then as I guilted Mark so bad last episode, and he almost sold me back his Kylo that he had gotten from me. But Raul did have it. He's kind of changing up his collecting focus right now. So I got a Kylo Ren from The Last Jedi from him, which super glad. And just one of the things that's great about collecting and doing it locally is you can help each other out. Some really good deals. And I think it worked out for both of us really well. Some other things that I had en route, basically got him a day or two after the last episode of keeping on that sequel trilogy. From 1/6 Republic, I was able to get TFA Han Solo and TFA Kylo Ren. So the Han Solo was a new figure to me. I hadn't had that one previously, but Kylo was a return to the collection. And keeping on with so from eBay, I was able to get back a Luke Skywalker from The Force Awakens, his Jedi robes. Had that previously. I think I had sold that to Mark at one point, but I got that back for a good deal. Used some of my eBay Bucks coupons. And then finally, I had a gift card from probably back in the holidays. I tend not to want to get figures from Amazon, but with a coupon that I had and a figure that was at retail price with free shipping, I added Leia Organa from The Last Jedi as well. So I'm on target to have all the Leias that have been released and will be released. So gotta have the princess representation in the collection. So Sean, you said 5. I think that's 6. You win the virtual contest that we are having here. So definitely a lot of sequel stuff, but that's it. Like I'm not tempted by anything of these older stuff. Like the one figure that would tempt me, guys, would be the Death Star Gunner, but the price is just not coming down on that at all. Chris, you found one on Macari that went for like $475 today, which is more than they're going on for on eBay. It's just like I would like under 300, and I think about it, never going to see that at retail at this point. Gosh, DC, before I send it over to you, I just had a kind of a disheartening story about collecting as well. I know we're going to talk about Iron Man diecast figures here in a little bit with Lotus, but so I was not necessarily bored one night, but I was looking at my Markel on my shelf, and I yet to put batteries in a figure. And I was like, you know what? He's probably sticking around. I'm probably not going to get any of the other Iron Man figures. Like, I just want to see what the batteries look like. And I started putting them in, and I was glad I did because it looked awesome. And I'd gotten to put in the helmet batteries, the chest batteries. I put in the left batteries on the left arm, and I was put them in the right arm, and I was about to start to do them in both the legs, so to complete the ensemble. And then I look down, and the right arm of my figure is detached. No forceful.
Yikes!
Yeah, yikes is right. So no forceful pulling it off or anything. So there's like a vertical pin in the arm, in the shoulder joint, and there's just basically it's a thin little piece of plastic that kind of keeps it on there, but that piece of plastic broke, the pin broke off, and the arm just basically fell out. And when that happens, you're like, well, even if I was ever thinking about selling that figure, that has now gone out the window. I know Iron Geek 37 could probably fix that in a jiffy, but I just don't know. So thankfully it's still at the point where you can kind of with a freestanding pose, the arm, if you put it in far enough and you don't articulate it in any way, put the arm up, or it doesn't look like it's broken. But man, that just stinks.
I mean, that figure's expensive. I mean, you'd hope that it doesn't do that, but I guess I've never seen the inside of the shoulder joint, so I don't know how sturdy they really are. I mean, they look solid enough, but yeah, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it happens. So, and actually, the other update
Disappointing.
I had, I was gonna get I was just so disheartened by having an Iron Man figure. I actually canceled my 47 pre-order. I'm just like, I'm done with Iron Man. Just like I'm done. I just don't want to deal with this anymore. They're too expensive, too fragile. I'm jaded. TC, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. Like the Iron Man figures, they're very sturdy, but yet they're fragile at the same time. It's hard to explain. You can get a paint chip here and there, and then in your case, is the worst case scenario, the limb just breaks off. But anyway, moving on. I got a few pickups. Starting off, I got a Mezco pickup. This is my first Mezco figure, and I had a figure art Spider-Man. I wasn't a big fan of it because I think it's because of the material. The Mezcos, they're kind of like mini Hot Toys in a sense. I like the mixed media. I like the actual fabric suit. And I'll just show it real quick. This is this guy, and he's pretty cool. So I got that from Stevens Collectibles and more out in San Antonio, Texas, and got that. And then also the big one I'm big into the Enter-based stuff now. I'm limiting it to probably 3 figures: the final edition Jordan home and away set, and then what I have, or 4 figures. I have a Scottie Pippen. I have the Enter-Bay Michael Jordan quarter scale figure, and it's really sweet. It's the one they released it in 2014. It's actually fitting that I'm going last on the collection update because I'm talking about Enter-Bay. I know we're going to talk about Play Imaginative in a minute, but Enter-Bay produced this figure in 2014. This is before Hot Toys, I believe, started producing anything quarter scale. And the quality, it's right on Hot Toys level. I mean, the sculpt is awesome. The accessories you get his 11s, 12s, 13s, and 14 shoe. It comes with a basketball, and the basketball is like this soft rubber, like faux leather type thing. Really cool. And the eyes are done really well. And then the all the stuff you get with it. You get the championship jersey, the shorts, you get the armbands, you get the warm-up suit, which is kind of how I have him displayed now. You get his red warm-up suit, the long sleeves, the bull logo on the back. They did it up well. They made this figure. They put a lot of time and effort into it, and I would love to have seen the background of Enter-Bay and see if anyone moved from Enter-Bay to Hot Toys or how closely aligned they were, because back then, I mean, they were producing Jordan figures at a really high quality level, and this quarter scale piece was their masterpiece. And they've continued over the years, but they haven't grown. Hot Toys has obviously grown exponentially, but it's just cool to see another company kind of compete with Hot Toys and really deliver something better than Hot Toys had at the time. So I really like that figure a lot, and I'm really excited to pick it up. It's pretty rare to see it available for sale, and I think a couple of them were put up because of the Jordan series, but I kind of jumped on it.
Where did you find that one?
eBay. You trusty old eBay. And then the other thing I'm doing right now is I'm parting out some of these. No. This is a planned project. This is not.
I know. I'm just giving you grief.
Yeah, this is I'm parting out
Full
the entire
part out.
set. Yeah, of some of the Jordan sets. So I bought a couple of them. I'm parting them out, hopefully to make a little money on the side. It's been going. The first one I've done so far, it's been going well, and we'll see how things end up. And it'll be a better gauge on whether or not I can actually make my dream come to a reality. We'll see. That's it.
Lotus, you got anything in the last couple of weeks here?
Well, I've been collecting statues, but my newest collecting journey is life-size animatronic robots.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
It's
Next level.
From my childhood, Showbiz Pizza Place was before Chuck E. Cheese, and that was they had a band called the Rockefeller Explosion, so I started collecting those characters.
How big are those life-size things?
They're life-size. I mean, they're animatronic. It's like, picture yourself as a child looking at the stage. If you ever went to, I mean, Chuck E. Cheese would be the closest thing I can relate to, but it was before Chuck E. Cheese.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I've been having some fun doing some restoration. Basically, these are from 1983, so they're old. and they need work, and so I've been restoring them.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Will you make a video of those?
Yeah, I have 13 videos
Oh, okay.
for Billy Bob. That's the first character I'm working with.
Nice.
Awesome. Let's check
Wow.
that out.
That's
like
just-
next level collecting right there.
It's real
Dude, I
deal.
can't paint anything.
Like,
I'm lucky if I can change the outfits of my figure.
uh,
I can't even put batteries in an Iron Man figure without breaking an arm off.
Yeah, no, this is full mechanics, and I do have to, I do have like conditioner to like get the fur. Like I'm working on the fur right now in my next video, and I'm putting conditioner and working with it. And oh my goodness!
Wow.
Justin's saying that you've just became his favorite person on the show, which isn't hard to do. Usually our
No,
guests
it's
definitely
not.
steal the show more than often. So
Mhm.
that's
Wow.
awesome.
I'll have to check out those videos. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Justin's gonna have to be in touch with you afterwards.
Mhm.
Lotus, he's saying that freaking amazing that someone's collecting
Yeah,
Rockfire
I
fan.
mean, some people know about it, but some people don't, and it's just something from my childhood, So
Well, like I remember going to Chuck E. Cheese, and I remember
Yep.
the animatronic band that they had.
yeah,
But if this is the precursor to that, it might be just before my time. But
yeah. I mean, yeah. Showbiz basically went bankrupt. Chuck E. Cheese kind of bought them, and then they basically reskinned. So some of the Chuck E. Cheeses that you may have visited when you were a kid
Mhm.
may have had actual creative engineering robots underneath the costumes, and then Chuck E. Cheese just basically put their own costume on top of it. But yeah, that's a different band. The Rockafire is the OG band of the of at least my childhood.
That's awesome.
Oh, cool. Justin says he grew up with Billy Bob too. Cool.
Yeah. You guys will have to connect in our collector group after
That'd
this.
be
for
awesome.
Sure. Good collection update, guys. I think Lotus, you definitely stole the show there. No surprise whatsoever. So, like I mentioned, if anybody's just joined in live on the chat here on YouTube, we talked about the opening. Lotus, you had reached out to me because you had a couple diecast figures to sell, and you're going to sell them in the group. And this company, Play Imaginative, that I had never even heard of before, and you had a whole write-up on some of, not even a whole write-up, just even within a message to me, which was far greater than any of the what I could respond back to and still feel like I could appreciate the time that you had put into that. And man, it's just like this I started researching up a little bit today on this, trying to find some photos and stuff. But Lotus, we're gonna just give you the show here and talk. There's such a fascinating and interesting history about this company, and basically getting the license to Iron Man 3 and just saying, hey, we're gonna make 80% diecast figures in the quarter scale, and we're gonna do it. And it turns out they didn't do it for very long.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy story here. So let me see if we can get into it. I'm going to share my screen to start off with. So let me see if I can do this here.
All right, here we go.
You able to see the screen? Okay,
cool.
Yep. All right, so let's go back in time to 2011. So in 2011, a company called Play Imaginative, they come along and they say, hey, we've got some licensing for DC, and we're going to make some quarter scale DC characters. So for DC fans, I know, a lot of people don't like DC, but they worked with Jim Lee on this one, and they decided to make a quarter scale, or actually take that back. These were 1/6 scale. Sorry. So they started with 1/6, and Jim Lee, and these were die cast. So they, right off the bat, they started making die cast figures. I mean, these are they call them super alloy, and like the majority of the figure is solid die cast.
Wow.
So this was the first start of it all. And I'll just go through real quickly. So that was Batman, a lot of QC issues. And then they did a Superman, and these retailed it was close to 400. Well, this one was $359. So they did a Superman and a Batman, and then from there, so that's how it all started out. It was started out with these two figures, and then they started for everyone that knows about like Sideshow Freaks and stuff, they announced the 1/4 scale figures, which was, well, that was, yeah, I mean, this was coming around 2013, but I think the announcement was like in 2012 that there was going to be an announcement that, you know, there was going to be some 1/4 scale and possibly 1/12 scale figures as well in this diecast format. And so come like April of 2013, there is, they started showing off. This is a representative actually from, I'll just play a little bit here. I don't know if you can hear the audio or not. Let me see here if this is.
So Lotus, where was this taken?
This was, I don't know if it was Singapore. It was definitely a convention. It wasn't in the US.
Mhm.
But they started, this is basically their first, you know, into the market. They're basically showing off all of these 1/4 scale figures, and people are like, what is going on? These are 1/4 scale diecast with 80% diecast. So this is before Hot Toys. Hot Toys didn't have anything going on at this point for 1/4 scale or even diecast. They didn't have their diecast done yet. And so I mean, we won't show the rest of that because I just want to move through here. And then moving along to Comic-Con 2014, they started actually showing off the figures themselves. They had like War Machine was releasing in 2014. War Machine Mark II. These retail for basically like $5.99. That was the retail price. And you got to remember, 2014 to spend $600. This is back in the day, guys. $600 for an action figure is not something you would normally spend. So this is when Hot Toys, I think the Hot Toy, like you were still buying Hot Toys around that $189 price point. So obviously it was all plastic Iron Man stuff back then, but still it was like a $189 price point. So it was crazy that they were, you know, showing this stuff off. And then, okay, so I'll stop here, and because I don't think I have everything kind of out of order. So I'm going to stop here and go ahead and let me get back to, let me go, oops, I'm going to stop sharing here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to turn my camera on, and then I'll talk a little bit more. See if this will, okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about, let me put my little gloves on because, you know, guys, I always have to wear gloves here.
That's what one thing I love.
Be prepared. Protect.
I love your videos on YouTube, Lotus. You've always got the gloves on.
So, and this is, like I said, I did this years ago. So I just took a little air freshener. This was like one of those air freshener automatic things, and I just kind of rigged a little bit of stuff here. So this was before like soap reactor and all that wonderful stuff. So I just wired up a couple things, and I actually had him, I put him back in the box. So these hands that are on him right now are just the standard hands. So you can't see the lights, but yeah, he's got LEDs in the feet. He's got LEDs in the hands. He's got LED in his chest, and then, but yeah, this is all. This weighs a lot. Like if I had a scale to show you, it literally weighs like, I think it's like 7 pounds. Like it's like 6.5, 7 pounds. This thing.
Wow.
And they did a wonderful job. There's a lot of like spring motion action. Like you can press that in and out. And as you can see, like he stands without, like it comes with like this really nice, well, let me turn on the actual. So this is the base that it comes with. I mean, it's beautiful. So this company, Play Imaginative, comes out of nowhere and says, hey, we're going to make all of the Iron Man 3 armors. And they actually, they prototyped all of the armors. And I'm talking like everything, Star Boost, like they were all prototyped and shown off. And War Machine was the first one they were going to actually release to the public. And basically they ran out of money they kept on, showing off all their figures and they were collecting pre-orders for all their figures. The figures were not allowed to be sold in the US market. So you had to do the thing where you would get a middleman to basically buy the figure. Later on, they ended up, I think the reason why like Big Bad and stuff got the figures was because the company was already going under, so they didn't really care about licensing or anything at that point. But they really did a great job. Let me show. They also did a Rhodey head sculpt. I don't know if you can. It's going to be kind of hard to see.
Yeah, I got a couple photos I can show after Lotus. That it's Hot Toys quality. I mean,
this is real, and exactly. It's definitely Hot Toys quality. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's an amazing thing. But yeah, they basically had all kinds of problems with QC and stuff, and I don't know if that's what actually led to the demise. But they also tried doing a 1/6 scale Iron Man. So they had a Mark. Let's see, I think it was a Mark 7 that they tried to do. Yeah, it was an Mark 7 in the 1/6 scale. It came with the Hall of Armor, and they had all kinds of QC paint issues with that. That was also, I think, one of the main. So they just kept on having bad press, and I think with the high expense dollar of the figures, plus the bad press of QC issues, it just didn't work out. So then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and remember, people have already placed pre-orders with these companies that are overseas, and so there was a lot of complexity with everything. Out of nowhere, they basically just come out and say, "Hey, we're done," and that's it. They just kind of went dark. And then this other company comes along named Comic Cave Studios, and they say, "Hey, we're Comic Cave Studios. We're going to go ahead and we're going to buy the licensing from Play and Imaginative, and we're going to start the lineup again." And all of us, they're on the boards. We're all like, "Well, that's suspicious. I mean, they're just trying to rebrand themselves as another company." And, basically talking about the licensing and all this. So we don't really know exactly what happened or how the company, why the company failed. But it was just a really crazy thing with, official emails from Play Imaginative, that like the emails that looked, the writing of the way the writing was in the Play Imaginative emails versus the Comic Cave, they looked very similar in the formatting. So we just knew that Comic Cave Studios basically was Play Imaginative, just under a different name. But anyway, they ended up only releasing this figure and the Iron Patriot. Those are the only two figures they released. The Mark 42 was supposed to be released with a Tony battle damaged head sculpt and a Pepper Potts head sculpt, and that never happened. They basically said that the QC was bad on them, and they were going to be held in a shipping container and never shipped or sold. Later on, they did get sold, but as a non-existent company, basically. And I can actually show that as well. Let me switch back to my screen. I actually got some pictures myself here. Let me take this glove off here.
It's just crazy.
So Lotus, just a question for you real quick.
Yeah.
Do you think these figures are kind of ahead of their time?
Oh yeah, it's just like Enterbait. I mean, they were really, these are, I mean, I wish you guys could like put your hands through the screen and just pick this thing up. I mean, it's just crazy. Like I haven't done any like articulation picks or anything with them. I've basically just left them in the standard pose. But
I'm talking like quality wise, yeah, but the market. So
I think you're right. Because like I said, these came out at $599 back in 2013 when you would have had to pre-order them. That's ahead of everything. I mean, like I said, Hot Toys was at the $200 price point. Statues back then with premium format, like Statues were at a max of $299 was the maximum price you would pay for a quarter scale statue. So to come out of the box at $599, that's a crazy amount of money. But yeah, there's I actually had to go into the Wayback Machine to pull up a lot of this older stuff of the banter back and forth. But yeah, there's some really interesting stuff if you ever wanted to actually get into the archives of kind of what kind of happened between Play Imaginative and Comic Cave. But then actually, I know I'm kind of jumping around. Let me show you. So here's the Mark 42. You can still buy it on, I don't want to say illegal channels, but like AliExpress is like, that's just a generic marketplace. So you can get the Mark 42. And this would be, like I said, this is still produced by Play Imaginative. It was produced by Play Imaginative, but it was never sold during the existence of the company. And as you can see, it does not have the Pepper Potts or the Tony head sculpt either. So that was omitted. They probably just literally like scrapped them or something. But I do have actual pictures. Let me just see if I can. Can you still see my screen or no?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, this is the bat, by the way, guys. Hot Toys was going to make the bat.
Those are all the vehicles I was talking about earlier with the speeder bike. It's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, they were going to make the 1/6, the bat and 1/6 along with the Batmobile, but yeah. So there's a Heartbreaker, War Machine, obviously. Star Boost was one of the ones that I definitely want, and they actually had him codenamed Gemini, but it was Star Boost armor. Such an awesome armor. And you can see these are the prototypes. You can see the paint is a lot more shinier on these than the actual real figure. I can show you the real figure.
Yeah, I mean these prototypes look really good.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and they, like I said, these are all fully licensed, and they were going to do the whole entire line. I mean, this was all pre-order, just like Hot Toys. You would do the same thing. You would do pre-order, but you had to get it through other channels.
So did that add to cost?
Yeah, I mean, it added. You pay a little bit extra to do a middleman thing. I do the middleman thing for XM Studios as well. But yeah, it's just
crazy too that these would be all quarter scale, and a lot of people don't even have the room to display quarter scale. And the fact that they were going to do so many of the armors from, the House Party protocol, I was going to get that tongue twister tied up on that one, but it's just crazy that they would go to that extent.
I mean, they weren't just jumping in; they were jumping in like
they were yeah, exactly.
Like,
they were totally jumping in. And at the same time, they were trying to promote their 1/12 scale line, which actually is still being produced. Well, it was being produced by Comic Cave. That's why I'm saying they tried to play it off to say that they were a different company, but they really weren't. But you can see the quarter scale versus the 1/12 scale.
Holy cow.
It was really, really cool. They built this nice little display. And there's the Pepper Potts head that it doesn't, like, you can't find it. So those are the head sculpts that were supposed to come with the 42.
Yeah, it's just very fascinating to know that there was the stuff that didn't even know it existed until a week or so ago.
It's just it's like this weird, like, small microcosm of the diecast collecting history here. It's really fascinating. I love hearing about this stuff.
Yeah, and the funny thing is about it, like, I mean, even back when I obtained these back in 2015, it was literally like 3 or 4 of us on the Freaks boards that had them. Like, no one else attempted to even spend that kind of money to even do that, So, but yeah, Iron Patriot comes with all of his battle damaged armor. So you got all the battle damaged, and everything's die cast. There's no plastic. It's just like all die cast. So it's crazy. I mean, the hands have plastic in them, but like all of all the pieces, like the shields, all that stuff, it's all plastic. And they gave you two different head sculpts. So you got the first head sculpt, which I showed of Rhodey, and then there's another one that's a little bit different. I can show that as well because I have the Iron Patriot. I was just making up some battery. That's how I did my batteries. So I mean, I didn't have to modify anything. I just basically took two because it's only 3 volts basically to power the whole system. So you just need a positive and negative, and I just used like a little bit of a spacer in there, and then just put it all. But yeah, let me stop this here. Well, yeah, here. You know what? Instead of me going back and forth, let me just tell you the rest of the history, and then we can be all set with it. So after the banter back and forth, and I'll go ahead and do this. So Comic Cave says that they're not Play Imaginative, and they're a totally new company, and they are going to come out with their premiere figure, which is the Hulkbuster. So they said, we're going to make a Hulkbuster. So they went ahead and let me see if I can. So this is the owner. I'm just going to fast forward through that, but.
And this is a quarter scale Hulkbuster?
This is quarter scale. That's the quarter scale Iron Man.
Oh, man.
And
how tall is that thing? My math.
It's about 4 feet.
Wow.
They built. Yeah, they built animatronics in it as well. So this was priced at $15,000.
Just a small chunk of change.
And they never actually produced any. There was one where they gave one away, but they never actually produced it.
Wow.
Let me see.
Definitely anybody listening to the audio, make sure you tune into this part to see the video here, or try to find the video on your own. But I mean, obviously there's no audio coming through, but I mean you can see just the scope and scale of this figure.
Yeah,
just put that into context when you get your own Hulkbuster here for anybody tuning in.
He's gonna demonstrate the animatronics.
It's like a small child. Wow, it's opening up. That's incredible.
So this is, so I'm the funny thing about this is, like I said, they say that they're not Play Imaginative. Obviously they are. They're once again coming out of the gate as Comic Cave Studios with a crazy figure that has animatronic operation for the Hulkbuster. I mean, come on. So it's a crazy story. Like, it's just nuts.
Man, it's very ambitious, to say the least.
So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get the other figure real quick. It's just right behind me. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it just kind of puts into context, guys, when we think about like the 6 scale Iron Man diecast figures, and we call them diecast, but normally most of the diecast is in the legs just to make it sturdy. You might have a couple parts here and there, but for the most part, a lot of the other stuff is plastic. And to have these figures that are 80% diecast or super alloy or whatever they're referring to is just, man, you don't even know something exists, and now it's there.
Yeah, I'm just interested in the time period, because it was just so much different than what it is now, with just the landscape of different companies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you mean, so here's the Iron Patriot here.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot more sturdy than the Hot Toys version. That Hot Toys version is really wobbly.
Janky.
Yeah. And like I said, they did 2 different head sculpts. This one is more of a I don't know if you can see it here, but he's really heavy. I mean, he's literally real. But yeah, it's gonna be hard to see. But he's got more of like his kind of mouth is kind of open, his teeth are showing. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see on camera there, but yeah, it's I mean, it's just a strong, like I said, they both come with the base. They come with a really nice waist grabber, but you don't need it.
Wow. So Lotus, I have to ask you a question as we're, you initially said you were going to sell them. I didn't know if you had any second thoughts at all after kind of getting them back out of the box and preparing for the show here or anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the thing is I mean, the truth is these are the last two figures for, in regards to action figures that I have in my collection. So I don't really have a place for them, I guess. I mean, I can put them both in one cabinet, but then I can't use the bases, and I don't know. I just it is interesting to me, to, pulling them out of the box and actually, experiencing them again. I do. I just appreciate it. I appreciate the history. Maybe it's because I was there at the time, so maybe it means a little bit more to me than others. But unfortunately, when there's no backing of a company anymore, I think even Comic Cave, they're just selling like pop vinyl style figures at this point. I don't even think they're selling like 112 figures anymore. I know BBTS ended up selling a whole bunch of their 112th line. But when there's no backing of a company, we talk about value of stuff, if there's no excitement, then that's it. They just kind of go by the wayside.
Yeah.
Well, I think you'll definitely, whether it's somebody in our group or somebody tuning into this, I'm sure you've piqued somebody's curiosity that's a quarter scale collector in Iron Man. I know, there's a couple Iron Man just only focus collectors. I think Michael may be one and whatnot. I'm not saying that Michael's interested or not, but I just, there's somebody out there that would, appreciate them. So I just appreciate having the opportunity to learn more. I mean, that was one of the things that we set out to do at the very beginning of this podcast, Chris, was just learn more about what's out there, educate ourselves, but not only ourselves, but our listeners as well. And just this segment of the collecting that happened way before you and I started, getting involved, and just getting that firsthand knowledge, Lotus, from you, kind of following it as it was happening and having some of these in hand is, it's been really, really great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know TC was talking about Enter Bay, but yeah, I mean, I was there when that Jordan figure was, was out. I wasn't into collecting sport figures. I was more so into getting the Enter Bay Joker, which is still a coveted figure as of today. I bought into both of the T800 and the T1000. So those are excellent figures from Enter Bay. If you're into the Terminator line, I would highly recommend those figures. I bought into the quarter scale Batman. That was the Batman Begins one. That was okay. There could be some problems with the rubber around the waist, years down the road. But I mean, Enter Bay, they were another company that was competing with Hot Toys and saying that, hey, maybe we don't have 1/6 licensing, but we're going to come out with 1/4. And it's all about the licensing. That's why these companies do what they do. It's just the licensing, Yeah,
I think Enter Bay used to have a showroom in Hong Kong. I don't think they have it anymore, but
no,
they're pretty big now. As I've done more research on them.
Oh no, and it was a huge premier company, and I don't know how your Jordan arrived, but for the Joker and the Terminators, they came in this really huge styrofoam, like a really nice styrofoam, like a soft, pliable styrofoam, and then they were all laid out inside of foam, expandable foam, and I mean, it was very professional, very, very professional.
Yeah, it came in like a big shoebox kind of thing, and then inside it's all that soft foam. It's not plastic or anything. It's nice. It's like a DX. Yeah, best way I can describe it is like a DX mall or something, if anyone has that, or DX11. So yeah, man, it's cool to see the different histories of different companies and see how things have changed over the years and to where we got today, and just compare that to back, things as recent as 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see some of the companies that have pushed the envelope, given Hot Toys, a little bit of run for their money, that have come out in the past few years. it'll be interesting to see if every one of them sticks around. There's some that have tried, like I think is Molecule 8, and pretty much fell off a cliff. And so it's just interesting, all these different companies and what licenses they can get, because Hot Toys, like Lotus was saying earlier, going for the animated Spider-Man figures. I mean, they're going where the money is, and a lot of those other figures from other franchises, Hot Toys isn't picking those up, and these other companies are. And just the more skilled artists they can get, those companies can get, the more competition Hot Toys gets. But yeah, we'll just see how things play out, and it'll be fun to see where if this sparks a little interest in people for these particular figures, just because they would look great if you've got other quarter scale Iron Man figures, to get a couple Rhodey figures in there too, to expand that quarter scale line.
Yeah, it's really some amazing stuff that these companies, did. Like I said, if you're into Terminator, definitely Enter Bay has some amazing sculpts, and they're all quarter scale.
Awesome. So Lotus, any final thoughts about Play Imaginative?
I don't know. I guess just it's it was a really good company. They came in with a bang and they went out like cowards.
It's a really good way to put it. Mm-hmm. All right, Lotus, we certainly I'm tuning into some of the live chat out there. A lot of people, Albert's saying his jaw dropped when he saw that Hulkbuster. Just everybody thanking you for sharing that. And now it's in the history banks here. We've got an audio recording of it. It's the story has been told in another way. It'll live on.
Because of this, they're going to launch another line.
Oh, that would be shocking. We'll see about that. But so thank you, Lotus, for that. All right, guys. I know we're running long, but we kind of expected to with all the news and being able to have Lotus share his background in history with Play Imaginative. But I think the time is finally here for us to talk about the Snow Troopers, the Hot Toys figure, one of the elusive figures that our collecting group has been on the hunt for. And as we kind of do more of these retro reviews now with the not so much new stuff getting issued, at least stateside here, and this was one that TCU got. I recently picked up as well, and let's just get into it. So this was all released for pre-order, all on the same day. There's actually 3 different product numbers that go with this. There's a crossover between essentially the Snow Troopers from Hoth on Empire Strikes Back. That's where most of us know this from, but also if you played Star Wars Battlefront, the Hoth, and there was a Snow Trooper with a jetpack and basically a rocket launcher that was also available too. So they were able to cross promote this not only from Empire Strikes Back, but also Battlefront. So you'll see that the MMS numbers for the single deluxe and then the Snow Trooper 2-pack is VGM 24 and 25. And then the Empire Strikes Back figure, which is just the Snow Trooper with the E11 blaster and this traditional stand, was MMS 397. So that 397 figure originally retailed for $204.99, went up for pre-order November 2nd, 2016, and released May 15th, 2017. And then you saw the deluxe that was also on that same date for $234, which, as I mentioned, it's one of the figures that a lot of people have gotten because it has the jetpack with the rocket effects, the rocket launcher. But then you could also buy it as a 2-pack under VGM 25, which was for $369.99, and had the Empire Strikes Back figure version, and then also the deluxe. So $369.99, you're not going to see that price anywhere near that. I paid much more than that when I picked up my 2-pack, but kind of crazy that at the time These were a little bit more available. And I think with hindsight and a lot of these Star Wars figures, they just keep increasing in value just because they're not going to re-release these. And especially a figure like this, Chris, I know has strong ties to the original vintage collection line. A lot of people that grew up in the 80s like we did have a lot of fond memories of Empire Strikes Back and the Kenner figures. So needless to say, this is probably one of the hottest figures on the aftermarket at this point.
Yep. And that's why I don't have it. It's just, it's got, again, we're going back to the troopers. There's similarities even with the Han Mudtrooper with that chest piece, maybe some of the arm pieces and that sort of thing. But I mean, it's just a cool design. I mean, I don't know if it was Ralph McQuarrie or Joe Johnston, whoever came up with the design of this trooper, but I mean, it just looks cool. I don't know where they drew off of for that, the kind of face cape, kind of covering, but the multimedia, like we keep getting into kind of a two-tone with the darker pants and the armor. It's just a great look for a trooper, and I really want them. And it's just we don't see the 2-packs anymore, so it's like Hot Toys was really into 2-packs for a while, and we need to get some more 2-packs coming back here. But it definitely won.
Yeah, so TC, you had gotten this figure first, and from Anno Toys, and then that was right along when everybody else was starting to get them as well.
Yeah, I did, and I got it for a pretty good price. I think I paid $275 total, $285 for the whole thing, and a VGM 24. So it comes with the jetpack, comes with the rocket launcher, and yeah, man, I can't say enough good things about this figure. The helmet, the mask on the helmet, that soft plastic is a little bit fragile, so be careful with that. But in terms of pulling off poses, all these poses you see are pretty much doable. The articulation's great on the figure. You can have them, shooting the sniper, rocket launcher, pretty much anything they're doing you can do. The mixed media is awesome. If you can get it for under $300, I'd say it's a no doubt, no brainer. Go out and buy it. It's a classic design, and I don't know, man. People keep saying Hot Toys is going to do Empire Strikes Back anniversary figures, and they might re-release this one. I don't know. There's no telling if they're going to do that. Try and find one if you can. I don't have many troopers, but I have owned several. So I've had some of the Rogue One stuff. I've had some of the Return of the Jedi. This one is by far my favorite, just because of the soft goods and the ability to pose it however you want to, really. That's how you want these troopers to be. You want to be in action shots. Mm-hmm. You don't want everything in a museum pose, and this thing can pull off pretty much anything. I don't keep saying that, but it's just one of the defining features of this figure, paired with the accuracy, the Hot Toys quality. You get everything with it. I think this rivals. I've never had a Shore Trooper in hand. I've seen Death Troopers in person. I've seen a lot of different ones. To me, this is the best one that they've ever released. I can't speak to the Shore Trooper, so I have to wait and see if I ever have one of those in person. But this is my favorite.
There's so many things about surprise about this figure when I had it in hand, and you don't see it as much in the photos, but you don't realize how much of the two-tone effect is there with kind of the off-white cream, undersuit. Basically, you just think, oh, it's a snowtrooper. It's all white. So, that, and you mentioned it, TC, like the canvas pants. You can, the arms you can basically pose in any way. So obviously one concern is, you mentioned with that, the vinyl face shield. Basically, there's no face behind it. It's just just like a lot of the helmets, it's like a little black foam disc, basically. So you kind of have to futz with it a little bit, and you don't want to futz with it too much because you don't want to rip it or tear it in any way. But like the weathering on this thing is just incredible. And in person, like none of these photos that we're showing here that were the original blogger photos when it was released do it really as much justice as it does in person. Just even the weathering on the helmet, the armor, the forearm armor, the boots and everything. It's just crazy. If I'm getting into little nitpicky things about the figure, it is probably the vinyl face shield a little bit. The backpack is infuriating to try to put on. Luckily, there's a magnet in it, so you can just kind of attach it with a magnet to the backpack, which is great. It's actually even worse than trying to put a Boba Fett jetpack on.
Don't do that. Just just use the magnet.
I know Chris Benware found a way to fix his, so I'll have to reach out to him and figure out how he did that. But I'd say outside of that, that's really it. I mean, I personally like the one from the Empire one better that actually has the traditional Hot Toy stand. The VGM 24 has a flight stand. You're not going to have the traditional grabber for the figure. I'm not too crazy about like the jetpack, and obviously the rocket launcher was in Battlefront, but to me it's not really canon from the Empire Strikes Back film. So, but they do look good as a pair. I have had moments of weakness since getting the 2-pack about wondering if I should, part out one of them. And you guys have overwhelmingly said no. Roy said the same thing, and I'll agree to it. They do look good as a pair.
Yeah, it's cool too that Sideshow's got the E-Web blaster rifle or whatever to get them all set up to reproduce the scene in Empire, and then people have been using that for Mandalorian, getting that for Mandalorian figures coming out this year. But I don't know, it's just, again, yeah, I know, I was just chatting with Cletus. Yeah, there are 2-packs from Force Awakens, but like I stated, that's also why we don't have 2-packs anymore, is because of Force Awakens. Because they're literally still available.
Yeah, I'm adding all those Force Awakens troopers to our website right now, and they're still all available at retail on some places. So
yeah, I know, because whenever you do a search for Hot Toys Snow Trooper,
you get the first order one.
Yeah, it's like maybe a 1% chance one of these pops up, and then somebody's asking like $700 for it, and you're like, nope. And then I found somebody had a 2-pack listed on Amazon, and I was like, the price is kind of ridiculous, but I had a lot of rewards, and so I started looking
Don't
at
rationalize something like that, Chris.
No. Well, yeah, this is what we go to as collectors. We're like, how can I obtain this thing that I really want? And so I was looking at like reviews and questions that had been asked to the retailer, and people are like, is this the 2-pack? Because that's the picture you have. And they're like, oh, we went in our warehouse and it's actually it's just a single one. And it was like $700 for the single one. We're like, nope. But yeah, I mean, I would be completely surprised if this ever got a reissue, only because they made three versions of it. I don't really, I don't see that happening.
I mean, we're talking about a figure that's 3 years old at this point. I mean, even the Rogue One stuff is more recent than that. And I mean, even the Star Wars line hasn't been around all that much outside of DX7 was 2012. And then we basically at the end of 2014, and we were just talking about that with the Play Imaginative stuff with Lotus, that's when a lot of these things went up for pre-order. And then 2015 with Force Awakens and stuff leading up to that's when we first started getting Star Wars figures. And it was funny when I do a comparison of when things were being released. The oldest Star Wars figures came out at the same time as like the Marvel Age of Ultron stuff. And that just blew my mind when I actually really thought about that. Because you think, oh, well, the old Star Wars figures have been out for a while. Well, in relation to all the other Hot Toy lines out there, it's still relatively new when you think about it. It's kind of crazy.
And that's kind of why, I mean, like 95% of these figures are a hit as far as, the sculpts the construction of the figures and the design, everything. When you start looking at some of the older figures from Marvel and DC, they definitely, you can see the transition. You can see the transition to the better quality. But yeah, it's an awesome figure. I'll have to. I only have my supplemental Kotobukiya statue. That's my fill-in, or I've got the Kenner collector series 12-inch that's completely destroyed in the bottom of my kid's Barbie bin. So
So Lotus, I know that you're not particularly a big Star Wars fan, and you probably wouldn't have much to weigh. Any thoughts to add about this figure?
Not really, except for you're not wearing gloves when you're handling the figure. The good thing is he's wearing a mask, so he's protected from you, and that's it.
I just want to make sure we still remembered you were there.
Yeah.
All right. So TC, I think you and I alone here are going to have to rate it. I have a feeling where you're going to go when you talk about putting it in the short trooper class.
Yeah, I don't have reference of what a short trooper looks like in person, but like I said, this is my favorite trooper out there. It's a 5 for me. Any nitpick is minor. I don't really know what real issues I have with the figure. They're just not there. So, 5.
A 5 what? Wait. You guys always do a special thing. What is it? A 5 of what?
E-Web blasters.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nice save,
Yeah.
TC.
Thank you, Lotus.
Somebody's got to keep this motley crew in order here. All right, so E-Web so 5 E-Web blasters, TC. I'm gonna it probably might be sacrilegious to say. I think I'm still gonna go like a little less than a 5. I think 4.75. It's still solid. There's a couple things that, I wish I could have done better, but I think when they tried to, it was manufactured to be like, as we talked about, kind of as a 2-pack, not something that's going to have, the face sculpt or anything on there. The face shields, I felt like they could have done a little bit better. The backpack is infuriating to put on, but when you look at the weathering and everything on there, it's just phenomenal. Even the texture in the gloves is, Lotus is just making fun of me for not wearing gloves handling a mostly white figure, but it's solid. If you're an Empire fan, you're a Hoth fan, and we're coming up on the 40th anniversary of Empire next month, and I think it's definitely something. Always be scavenging. Definitely keep an eye out for this. I would not pay. I would not pay over 400 for this figure. If you could get it in the 300 range, I think it'd feel a little bit better. Which is about when I looked at like the 2-pack it was kind of what I was at for for a price range, and I felt comfortable with that. So, good stuff, guys. We didn't go as long as I thought we would. We're almost not quite at the 2-hour mark. That was my early estimate when I was chatting with you guys, earlier today.
Still have a shot.
We still do have a shot.
I know. All those plugs, man. I take.
Yeah. All those plugs. So, Lotus, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for sharing your experience and your knowledge of the Play Imaginative stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys having me on the show.
Yeah, as everybody's tuning in live, obviously you've got your picture. You're also a Transformer collector. We just didn't have it in the budget to do any of like the face masking technology with our camera. So we're trying to do your best to keep your secret identity safe, which we'll continue to do. But so just Lotus, give you a chance to, if there's anything you want to plug, either your own channel or the podcast you're a co-host of.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take a look at some animatronic robot rebuilds, you can head over to my YouTube channel, Lotus Stark. And I'm also on a podcast called Open Your Toys. So you can search for that as well.
Oh yeah, I gotta listen to the latest episode. I like the new. I jumped on. I think it was the first episode you guys did live. And I definitely, I think it gives, even though we don't see your face, right. We get to, we at least get to see Rock and Jason and everything. And it is a learning curve. Definitely, our Bryan does all the heavy lifting, and it's takes a little bit of time. But yeah, love your podcast because I love that 80s goodness, 80s collecting goodness.
Cool.
All right, guys. So our plug. So we mentioned the website. I've been going a little crazy with doing some updates and stuff, guys. I lost count of how many figures I've put out there. It's over 100 now. I think I've got. I don't know if I'm quite halfway through, but I think I'm almost halfway through all the Star Wars stuff. So it's with us being kind of quarantined here, it's given me something to focus on. So check those out. Those checklist database on our website. Obviously, we have our YouTube channel here. If you're tuning in live, if you're listening to audio, definitely check out the video, especially if you want to see that animatronic quarter scale Hulkbuster that Lotus was sharing us earlier. We have our TeePublic store. I guess TeePublic is going to start selling masks that actually have our logo on it. So I don't know if I'm going to order any of those, but we certainly would appreciate it if anybody does help us out. We get a little bit of kickback for that. We have our Facebook page. We're on Instagram and Twitter. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and scavengers.libsyn.com. If you want to grab that RSS feed and throw it into your podcast catcher of choice.
Oh yeah, and check out the Rogue 16 guys on their YouTube channel. Matt has been doing the Shelter in Space with, I think they just watched Empire Strikes Back. You can go back and watch those things, but it's always fun to jump on and get into the conversation, while you're watching a movie with some fellow fans and collectors.
And then one of my favorite podcasts, go check out Collecting Weekly with Zach Dean and their entire suite of shows. They continue to grow, but they continue to put out good content, and it's worth a listen. They're on YouTube, and they're also on your podcast catcher of choice.
And it sounds like one of the other hosts on this show might be making an appearance there pretty soon as well.
Yes, they call me a sweet angel. So
yes,
I guess I accepted the invite. If it's still out there, I believe it is. So
I'm pretty sure it will be. So.
Oh yeah, it was fun. I jumped on with them the other week and had a fun conversation and got to watch a movie that I never thought I'd watch and got to talk about it and talk to all kinds of collecting and stuff. So definitely check them out. I look forward to potential appearance from TC.
All right, good stuff, guys. Again, Lotus, thanks for joining us. It was a blast. We'll definitely have to have you on again, and we'll have to have some other kind of crazy topic to go into the archives and pull it out and make it relevant again. So thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you.
thanks, Lotus.
Thank you.
All right, Chris, you've been unfired. Why don't you bring us home?
Excelsior.